Hi everyone, and welcome back to a brand new TechCravers video. This time it's all about emulation on our beloved Steam Deck. A lot has happened since the last time we covered this topic, so in today's video I'm going to walk you through exactly how to get started with emulation on your freshly formatted or completely new Steam Deck. I'll show you step by step how to install the emulators themselves, that's the software that actually plays our games, how to add your ROMs, in other words your game files, and how to set up all those important BIOS files that certain emulators need in order to run. So if you're excited to start playing everything from retro classics like the Commodore, Game Boy and NES, all the way up to modern systems like GameCube, PS2 and Wii U, sit back, relax and let's get started. Now let's jump into it. As you can see, my Steam Deck is completely fresh. I haven't logged in for the first time yet. But of course you can still follow along with this guide even if, for example, you've just formatted your Steam Deck to start from scratch, or maybe you picked up a larger micro SD card and want to set everything up on that instead. Either way, the first thing I recommend having on hand is a Bluetooth keyboard and mouse. It's going to make navigation on your Steam Deck so much easier. That said, you can absolutely stick with the built-in controls if you prefer. And once you've logged in on your Steam Deck and paired your mouse and keyboard, it's time to get started. Click on the Steam icon down in the bottom left corner or press the Steam button on your Steam Deck, just to the left of the screen. Then scroll down and click on Power. In that menu that appears, choose Switch to Desktop. We'll be installing everything from the Steam Deck's desktop mode, and then later we'll jump back into gaming mode when it's time to test our games. And speaking of games, to play your classic retro titles on Steam Deck, you'll need access to ROMs. These, as I mentioned earlier, are essentially the game files themselves. I've created my own ROMs from my personal collection and I keep them stored right here on this hard drive. I also have a separate video where I show exactly how I made my own dumps. But how you choose to source your games is entirely up to you. If you're unsure where or how to start, Google or Reddit are great places to search for knowledge and guidance. Just keep in mind, I won't be sharing any games or links to download them in this video, because that would be illegal piracy. But once you got a hard drive or USB stick loaded up with your favorite games, you're ready to move on in this video. One tip, store your games on a hard drive or USB stick that has a USB-C port. That way you can plug it straight into your Steam Deck without needing adapters and avoid any potential connection headaches that might come with them. Alright, if your Steam Deck is brand new and unused or freshly formatted, the very first thing you want to do is to install Firefox, which is pretty much the go-to browser for Steam Deck. All you have to do is to click on the Firefox icon down in the menu and it will automatically open up Steam Deck's App Store called Discover. From there, click on Install from FlatHub in the top right corner to download and install Firefox. And once that is done, just hit Launch in the same spot to open it up. And with your browser now installed, head over to EmuDeck.com. Sure, you could install each emulator manually if you really wanted to, but trust me, you'll save yourself hours of setup by using EmuDeck. Not only does it install all the emulators for you, but it also configures your controls, set up hotkeys and take care of a bunch of other settings so you can focus on what you actually want to do, play games. So click download in the top right corner and then choose which version of EmuDeck you want. There are versions for Windows and Android as well, but in this video we'll be grabbing the Steam OS version. The download is completely free, but if you want to support the developers and at the same time get early access to new features and other perks, you can also choose to join their Patreon. The download only takes a few seconds, and once it's finished, just locate the file and drag it over to your Steam Deck's desktop. And you can close down the browser for now. Before you install EmuDeck, you want to set up a sudo password. This is basically a master password for your Steam Deck, and it may be required for certain installations. To do this, click the Steam icon in the bottom left corner, then click the small Steam icon next to your username. If you haven't changed it, it probably says something like Steam OS user. From here you can set your password. That password will now be your master or sudo password, so make sure you remember it for future installations. And once that is done, it's time to launch EmuDeck from the installer sitting on your desktop. Make sure you're connected to Wi-Fi while you do this. You'll land on the first screen where you need to choose whether to go with the easy way or the custom way. The easy option might sound tempting, but I still recommend going with custom. It gives you a few personal choices along the way without making the process any harder at all. On the next page you can choose whether to install everything on a micro SD card, and I don't have one mounted in my Steam Deck right now, so it shows error detecting micro SD for me. In the middle you can select to install everything internally on your Steam Deck's home directory, which is what I will be doing in this video. And on the right you can choose an exact location for the installation, which is great if you want to set everything up on an external SSD or something similar. And don't worry, if you ever want to switch from internal storage to a micro SD card in the future, you can use the EmuDeck migration tool to move everything over. On the next page you'll choose between Steam Deck or Anbernic Win600, and honestly I'm not entirely sure why that second option is still there. Anyway, after that you'll need to pick whether you want low level of integration or the highest level. Basically this comes down to whether you want to launch your ROMs as regular games directly from gaming mode, or if you rather use a front end, in this case Emulation Station, to start your games. As it says on the screen, there are pros and cons to both options, but in this guide I'll be choosing highest because I want my games to look and feel like real Steam titles. On the next page you'll choose which emulators to install, and if you're unsure you might as well install all of them. You can always uninstall or add specific emulators later using the EmuDeck installer. And on the next page you'll choose which emulators EmuDeck should configure for you. It's almost always recommended to let EmuDeck handle all the setup, so go ahead and tick everything here as well. Then choose whether you want your retro games listed on the screen to have autosave enabled or not. If you choose yes, your games will always start exactly where you left off, instead of having to start from the beginning every time. Next you can log in with your RetroAchievements account, which you can create for free over at retroachievements.org. If you choose to log in, you can boost the replayability of your old classics by enabling achievements that you can hunt down and collect, just like in modern games. The next 9 or 10 pages or so are entirely personal choices that you can take your time going through. These settings include things like aspect ratios, filters, and other options that may or may not enhance your experience. So just click through this straightforward process until you reach the summary of your selections right before it's time to install. And this last page before the install sums up everything you've chosen so far, and if you want to change anything before the installation begins, now is your chance to go back. Otherwise, just click Finish to kick off the entire installation. It'll take a few minutes, so it might be a good idea to turn off your Steam Deck's auto sleep feature while it runs, or at least give your mouse a wiggle now and then to keep it from dozing off. And after a while you should hopefully see installation complete. Click Next and you'll be prompted to copy your games. Here choose Manual Copy, because believe it or not, it's actually smoother than the automatic option. From there you can minimize the EmuDeck window along with any open terminal windows. If, like me, you installed everything on your Steam Deck's internal storage, you can find it by clicking the Discover button and then going to Home. Inside the Home folder you'll see both the EmuDeck Installations folder and another folder called Emulation. And this is where we will be placing our BIOS files and ROM files. So for example, there's a folder called BIOS here. In this folder we simply place the BIOS files we need, and any emulator that requires them will automatically detect them. But more on that later. For now, let's head back and open the ROMs folder. Here you will see a bunch of subfolders with different names, each one representing a platform. For instance, GBC is where you'd put Game Boy Color games, GC is for your GameCube games, and so on. And if you're unsure which games belongs in which folder, just open the included TXT file inside. It will tell you which platform the folder is for, and which file types it can read. All you need to do now is to grab your hard drive or USB stick with games and start drag and dropping the files into the correct folders. And once you're done with that, we'll take a look at how to wrap up the installer and start building our Steam library with games. Simply mount your drive via the Steam Deck's USB-C port. It should pop up automatically in the bottom right corner, but if it doesn't, look for the icon that looks like a little USB stick and click on it to view your external drive. This is also where you'll see your micro SD card if you have one inserted. If you chose to install everything on a micro SD, this is where you'll find it, and you can transfer your games to it exactly the same way as if you'd set up the folders internally like in this guide. Anyway, click on Mount and Open on your external drive with your games to open it up. Start dragging and dropping your games into their respective folders on your Steam Deck, whether you've set up folders on a micro SD card or internally in your Steam Deck's home directory. This process can take anywhere from a few minutes to several hours, depending on how massive your game library is. So feel free to skip ahead to the next step in this guide and we'll pick things up from there once you're ready.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
Once your games have been transferred, go ahead and open up EmuDeck. It should have been minimized down in the taskbar this whole time. Click Open Emulation folder, which we've actually already done earlier in a more manual way. From here, just click OK, Next or similar on any page or pop-up that may occur, and then close EmuDeck. Open it up again, and this time click on BIOS Checker in the menu on the left. This tool helps you confirm whether your BIOS files are installed in the right place. Red means the BIOS files aren't found, and green means they are working. Not every emulator requires BIOS files though, but many do, including the PS2, which I have games for, so I'll need to install those. Close EmuDeck and either plug in an external drive containing your BIOS files or download them directly to your Steam Deck if you have that option. Here I've placed my PS2 BIOS file right on the desktop, and all that's left to do is to drag it into the BIOS folder inside my Emulation folder in the Steam Deck's home directory. Open EmuDeck again and go back to the BIOS checker, and now you can see that my PS2 BIOS check has turned green, meaning it's working perfectly. Now, if you have any questions about BIOS files or anything else, make sure to drop them in a comment down below so that I or one of my fantastic subscribers can help answer them. But now it's finally time to fire up Steam ROM Manager so we can make our games visible in Gaming Mode's library. The first thing you need to do, and this is an important step, is to click Manage Emulators and scroll down to Steam ROM Manager. Click on it and then select Reset Configuration from the menu on the right. If you skip this part, there's a risk that Steam ROM Manager won't work properly. But once that is done, click Steam ROM Manager in the menu on the left side instead and launch it. And the first thing you need to do is to choose which Steam account you want to use with Steam ROM Manager. Click Choose and then select Account and hit Save. After that, click on Next. Here, as the info on the screen says, you'll now choose which systems or parsers you want to add to your Steam library. You might only want to add a few, but if you're unsure, it's better to just select them all. After that, click on Add Games in the bottom left corner of Steam ROM Manager. And then click on the Parse button to start scanning for your games. All the titles that Steam ROM Manager finds, thanks to you placing them in the correct folders earlier, will show up with default artwork and everything ready to go. It might take a little while depending on how many games you transferred earlier though. And apart from scanning, finding your ROMs and downloading artwork for them, Steam ROM Manager can also be used to personalize your entire library. You can change the artwork, hide or unhide games, and much more. But if you're happy with the artwork and the overall look, simply click on Save to Steam to store your settings. And when you see a notification saying Done adding removing entries, you're all set. And the more changes you've made, the longer it might take for that notification to appear. And just like that, we're done with desktop mode for now. You can now close both EmuDeck and Steam ROM Manager and jump back into gaming mode. From here, everything will look like normal, but if you press the Steam button to open the menu and then select Library, you'll notice a new tab called Collections. Here, Steam ROM Manager has created a folder for each system it found games for. Everything is now ready to launch and play. And if you later decide to add more games, all you need to do is to drag and drop them into the correct folder in desktop mode and then run Steam ROM Manager again. When you hit Parse, just like we did earlier, it will scan and detect any new games that you have added, and then when you click Save to Steam, those games will appear here as well. And like I said earlier, if you run into any issues during this process, just drop a comment below and we'll do our best to help you. And that's it for today's video. If you follow this guide, you'll be up and running with Emulation on your Steam Deck in no time. Remember to drop any questions that you might have down below. I've got tons of guides and videos on the Steam Deck and Emulation in my video library, so chances are I've already covered the answer there. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And remember, happy gaming everyone!